Hello, everyone. Welcome to the April 13th AHRB meeting. We'll begin with 82 Belden Avenue, please.
Good evening. So an updated materials list
Thank you.
and
Is this the same thing we reviewed last time, or a
it's
different,
kind of different.
different building, right?
It's the same house,
I mean, same, but different design.
different designs. So you ready?
Yeah.
Patty Steinschneider, Gotham Design and Community Development, here representing the Vulitiches. Tom Vulitich is sitting here, and if I falter, he can step up and correct what we're doing. At the last meeting, the board had a lot of ideas in a couple different directions of where we were with the house that we had, which was a kind of in-between. I think it would be fair to typify it as in-between. It had certain modern qualities, it had certain more traditional qualities. And the client watched the meeting carefully, and what they wanted to do was take one direction or another. And the direction they preferred was the more modern. And that's what we have now developed. The plans, the site plan, all remain exactly the same. What's changed is the articulation of the roof and the materials and the way we're treating some of the windows and things like that. So I don't know if we should spend that much time with PowerPoint on this, if we can even make it work. Okay, we've gone through this stuff before. These are the drawings that you have before you, I believe, which actually it should be a set of 4 drawings that you got tonight. I think.
Yes.
Yeah,
Package.
yeah. We added 2 sheets of details and. What else?
Oh, we have 2 drawings,
We didn't get any of that.
2 pages.
2 pages.
Okay, then let me start with one thing of correction. On the 2-page version, we showed this eave the same height as this eave, which meant that this eave was penetrating into the sky exposure plane. That was drawn incorrectly. The height of this is 8 feet, so it drops it down so that we're at exactly that point of where the sky exposure plane hits the eave. So we don't have any of the wall in the sky exposure plane, it's only the eave. Everywhere on the building where that's an issue. What we did to change it, if you remember, we had a hip roof with a eave that wrapped around. We've broken that into shed roofs with a flat roof deck over here. We would like to do metal roof. We haven't gotten a price on it yet. I've listed that as an alternative. The backup would be the asphalt that we've selected. A main change on the materials is that we've gone on, instead of using a hardy plank kind of material that would be finished with a paint, we would be using a cedar, which would be stained with an antique oak stain and in a shiplap pattern. It's not a clapboard. It's actually a shiplap that we've done on a number of houses, which tends to work pretty nice because you get a very thin reveal in between, and it stands up well.
So is that going to be changed? Just like
Yeah, the drawings show this.
Question for you is, this is the elevation that we're looking at?
Right.
So you're
Yeah, and if-
bringing down the,
Yeah, do you,
It was some in late after the packets went out.
Okay.
yeah. And if you get those, I think that'll make it good, but that's exactly right. Yeah.
you have the correct drawing?
I don't know if there's really much that you want to go with on the drawings. Would you rather get to the SketchUp? Where you can see the 3D?
All right, sure.
Okay.
Go through your presentation.
Or I might need to wait for Ed to be back. Ed, to switch to the SketchUp. Is it at the bottom?
It's on the
Thank you.
thumb drive. So
Yep. Actually, one thing, yeah, we should do one thing first. Let me show you get down through all of this stuff, which you saw last time. We've done a series of houses in Irvington using the articulation, the materials that we are showing at this point. This is the house that we did for the Barnards at the end of South Ferris. This has an epay run vertically, so that's different, but the roof and the roof forms are similar. This is the back view of that house. This is a house that's around the corner on Jaffrey where we use the same shiplap with almost the same. Our stucco is a little bit grayer than this, but using similar kinds of material detailing. That's the side. This house is, you can see actually from the aqueduct. And this is the house that we just finished in Dearman Park, which has the same siding, same roof materials. So that just gives you a sense of how those materials work together with the stucco, the wood, and the form with the roof. But I think that's something you guys probably already understood. So going to the SketchUp. This is a new laptop. Hopefully you'll have it on it. That's not going to work. Well, you want, is that something you can do? They can go to, yeah, they just got a new laptop in the village, so they haven't loaded SketchUp onto it yet. So do you want to skip to someone else on the agenda? And then come back to this to see this? He's going to download it now.
Do you think you need to see the SketchUp model here before we continue the conversation? If it's an integral part of your presentation, we're happy to.
I'm only trying to answer any questions that you
You're
have.
going to be here all night anyway.
I know, and that's why I tried to buzz through that stuff pretty quick. I mean, it's up to you guys.
I do too.
So let's hold off and we'll come back and revisit this
No problem?
after we have this done. Thank you. No motion at the moment. We'll just come back around and revisit this in a bit. The next item on the agenda is 15 Highland Avenue. However, we received no drawings in our packet. I see you here now.
Yeah, I didn't know about the meeting until just a short time ago, and I wasn't sure about the protocol updating drawings.
Well, I see you're here and you probably want to present. However, we just,
Do you have the?
unless we can review with a little time beforehand, I think we all just need to think these through before we issue comments. And I think, on the fly is unfair to both you and to us. We tend to err on the more conservative side if forced to do so. So I would, I'd really rather hold off any issuing any motion today until we receive drawings.
Fine. I'm just going to show it to you, though?
Of course.
Yeah, okay, I mean, that's I'll get the drawings to you, whatever we have to do. David, you want to? No. Can you see this, or it's
You want
hard
to read
to?
the microphone?
You can bring it up to us.
All right, good evening. Should I bring this closer?
If you would.
How's that?
A little closer.
Thank you.
It's just for you, nobody
I'm
else, I
fine
don't think anyone else really cares, so, anyway. All right, so hopefully you followed some of your suggestions, try to get more articulation in the elevation. This pushes back, this pulls forward, as you can see over here. See that little side piece pull. So basically, this goes back a foot, this comes forward a foot. Have a little shed roof, kind of updated that. Got a little hip here was created. And we have this line here was created also because this was, this is pushed back, which created that line in there. So let's see what else changed. From the side, you can see the overhang. This is how we got the articulation by pulling this forward. Yeah, sure. This is the owner.
Hello.
The only thing I wanted to add, and excuse us on the drawings, is that we wanted to take a lot of your suggestions into account, and in part as well, we felt it was necessary to in a sense, undo some of what had been previously done to the existing facade. Over here, you see these are now new windows. There was existing a series of 4
Yeah,
much smaller
I
windows. These are now much closer to
Much better,
conforming
yeah.
with the 2 houses that are adjacent to the right of the this property. And so the effect is, I think, to tie them in to the other homes on the block a little bit more. That was obviously previous work that had been done before we purchased the home. So that was the idea behind doing that. And then, of course, Dave has explained the changes to the addition to, variegate the, facade a bit more so that there is a recession and then there's an extension, so that it is not, sort of one sort of flat mass that sits in front of you. So, adding those things and adding in a small, roof here was meant to sort of, both tie it into, the existing roof here, and then this gives it a bit of a, I don't know what you call it, a dormer or a hip roof, or, that, again, goes these 2 together. So that was the thinking behind the addition, the changes there.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's much better than what we had before.
Yeah, Doc, do you recall those tall, skinny windows that were in this front
Yeah, I walk
enclosed
by there all
porch?
the time, I see them.
Okay,
all the
okay,
time.
yeah, that was, I think that was a big help to alter those.
Do you want to get
Are
any
we
questions?
allowed to make a motion?
It's on the agenda.
It's on the
up to
agenda.
you.
Do you have any
Are
comments?
there neighbors who would like to comment on 15 Highland?
Steve Sudak, 23 Highland Avenue, 2 doors away from Dave. And I think, I agree with everything that was said tonight. I think that the first submission did have a lot of issues. You can't just take a house and put a house next to it and kind of, you need to articulate it and blend it. I think this goes a long way towards that. And I think it's almost like a home run that he put changed the porch windows as well, the old porch windows. I mean, that was just a mistake that was made years and years ago. And made it look like some kind of garrison. I mean, it's just awful. So this is a great, great move. And I don't know, I don't know why the drawings weren't submitted. That's all I got to say. I'm at a loss at that one, but as far as.
I'm tired of printing things out and having them go in the garbage, that's why. I didn't know the protocol, how would, anyway.
That's all I got.
I can print that one if you need 10 sets, whatever.
Of this drawing with you?
Revised drawings.
Yeah, I'm fine.
No, just that one. I mean, I can get them, I can get them to you. I can
think
get them
that
to
we
you tonight,
can.
actually.
I
if
think
had
that we
to.
can make a motion contingent on you submitting drawings. You don't have to come back to the next meeting if we approve what we're seeing
I mean, I could
here.
bring them in
I mean, I don't
tomorrow.
know if we can sign these.
Well, they-
You don't have anything.
I don't have anything to.
So we can give you an okay to go ahead.
You wanna give me those, then-
Contingent to.
Yeah, can they give you these drawings?
Yeah,
Sure,
give me
yeah.
those and then bring in more.
I can.
Just to call out the materials, because I can read what you're writing there, so just for materials,
Stucco?
It's a stucco house.
Yeah.
and it's
Pretty much
matching
matches the
existing.
existing, yeah.
The roof, the steps.
The
all
roof,
the-
we have,
Do you mind if I see it close?
yeah, sure. We had GF Timberline, weathered wood color.
Uh-huh.
Steps, I have concrete as the steps.
That's-
Oh, can you see
I
it?
think that's okay. I can read it from.
Yeah, okay. You know, the trim, really just kind of matching the existing.
Here's what we'll do. We'll submit this, take a look at it at the end of the meeting. If everything is what we have heard.
Oh, sure, okay.
We can use this copy, Ed, and then he'll submit the.
Stamp this one, you'll get me some more.
Okay.
During the week.
I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm okay
All
with
right,
it.
sounds good.
So I'd like to make a motion, we approve this application as submitted. Do I have a second?
Second it.
Yair, seconds. All in favor? Unanimous?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck with it.
Thank you.
and-
Good
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you
And we
for.
really appreciate you making the effort, both of you.
No, I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
It
and
really
appreciate all your
made a big
suggestions.
difference.
It-
Thank you.
Yeah,
It makes a big difference to how it looks.
worked out good. We appreciate the comments.
It looks better anyway.
Yeah, better.
Good luck.
It's turned out.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Will still did.
Bring it over to Ed.
Thank you very much.
You can leave it on.
10 Sherman, please.
This is ready, if you want to go back to Belden.
Whichever, whatever works.
Why don't we do
Let's
10 Sherman?
let's see 10 Sherman first while you're getting up.
I need two paper and one electronic.
Give those to Ed.
So right there, thank you.
Okay, good evening. My name is Natasha Wacko. I'm here from Opachich Architects, representing our clients Winiarskis and the property 10 Sherman Avenue. So our clients Winiarskis live currently at 16 Sherman, which we previously renovated for them. And when they saw 10 Sherman coming up on the market, they saw it as an opportunity to make an investment in their house, but also in their future, as a residence that they could remake for their aging parents, so they can have proximity and also make an investment in the community. So the plan is to redo the house within the limits of the existing footprint, and so have living spaces on the first floor and the bedroom space, and then up at the second floor level, additional bedrooms and baths. And then in the back, future garage that will serve the property. The elevations are done in a, let's go back here. So what they wanted to do is something in a sort of craftsman aesthetic that would be in keeping with the rest of the neighborhood without sort of leaning one way or the other in terms of copying anything, and being sympathetic with the scale of the rest of the homes in the neighborhood. And we're just showing it in context with 16 Sherman, which is next door. So this here would be the front elevation. This is the side elevation. And then rear elevation here, again in context with 16 Sherman, and then the other side elevation. The materials suggested are all cedar siding, aluminum clad windows from the Anderson A-Series line, which would be in a dark bronze color, aluminum gutters that will also be in a dark bronze color, kind of picking up on the aesthetic of the Craftsman feel. And then the siding would be in a quiver tan, which is a nice neutral color with a darker color envisioned for the windows as kind of like a pop accent to really bring it out.
The drawings are very nice, and it's a very nice design. I was just confused between looking at 16 and number 10, but now I get the...
Oh, right, it was just
yes,
for the context of
exactly.
the scale,
Thank
sorry.
you. Thank you. It's a nice project. You've done a nice job with it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Welcome.
it looks great.
All right.
I
We
think-
appreciate it.
I don't think we have any further questions. Lucky parents.
Okay. Yes.
I'll make a motion that we approve this application as submitted.
Second it.
Second, Yair, all in favor, unanimous?
Great, thank you
again.
very much.
Is the client here?
Yes, Ms. Winiarski is here.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Patty again. Let Patty come back.
I just have to give you the
We want to come back up for
two people. Oh, okay.
82?
Great.
Let's do, I know Steve, you're here for this one, right? Slow.
27 Highland, do we have this?
I've got nothing to do tonight, so.
He's happy to be back. Let's get this, the first application out, because it's up on the screen, and I'd like to move forward with this.
So, this is a SketchUp, actually, how do we get on the screen? Should be. Want to do 27 while we're waiting?
That's not working.
He hasn't gotten it on the screen yet.
Okay.
Okay,
On that.
go for 27.
This is probably the most interesting that you'll have tonight. This is, if you read the journal news, the Property Brothers have come to Dobbs. And they have.
Use the mic, please.
Oh, yeah, sorry. So this is 27 Highland. This is Property Brothers are working with the people who recently bought the house to transform it. There's almost nothing on the exterior of the house. All that we were really involved in is removing one wall in the interior and a sectional wall along the stairs. When the person who works with Property Brothers who did the design for the kitchen, they basically decided they wanted to raise the window on the back so that it would be above the sink. And there was a window on this side which fit that. So the idea was to move that to here, and this will now be where their stove and range top goes. So those are the only two changes, as well as the existing door had rotted out, so they were replacing the existing door, but that's in the existing opening. And they've actually replaced it with a glass door that looks very similar to what was there.
Okay.
A door and a window, there's not much to discuss. However, we have a neighbor here. If you, no comments.
No issues. It looks great. Almost matches as good as you can get 30-year siding to match, new stuff. It's as good as it can be.
Wouldn't it be nice if they did something real? And redid the siding and maybe some other stuff, but maybe later.
Maybe. All right, so
I think
Yeah,
the
let's-
siding was just fine.
We'll make a motion to approve this as submitted.
Thank you, sir.
Second?
I'll second.
Yair, all in favor? Unanimous. Thanks, 27. Ed, that was 27 voted unanimous. To pass. Is this working? No? Okay. Do you want to take a break, or should we take a break? Or
I mean, we could show you we could move that over there.
No, I'd
Yeah,
rather wait
be
until it's
better.
on the screen.
So you want to keep going with your agenda?
Yeah, well, let's go to 60 Florence.
Yeah,
We have the applicant here.
yeah, I'm supposed to be helping them because we were originally on that, but neither the architect, Eric Osborne, or David Macon is here. I was down in Charleston doing 2 14-hour sessions on the Charleston Charter to replace the existing basis for historic preservation all weekend, so I have not talked to them.
So would you like to put this
Put it off.
ahead? Sure. We'll skip ahead to 100 Main Street, please.
Yeah, actually, what we'll do is adjourn, they can come back in 2 weeks.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
We'll make a motion to adjourn this to the next meeting as 60
I'll
Florence.
Yeah.
All in favor?
We are going to have a similar issue with 100 Main if he can't get the SketchUp working, because that's how we made the presentation to the planning board. But since he's bringing that in, maybe he can get that to work. Do you want me to start with that, or?
Yeah, I'd like to just go on to the next. We have a lot of stuff on the agenda,
Yeah.
and I don't really, and there's a lot of people here, so
Yeah.
I'd like to just move ahead. With 100 Main, please.
Yeah. 100 Main is the property that's currently located at the corner of Elm and Main Street. There's an existing 3-story stucco building that fronts on Main Street. There's an existing barn that is along the back of the property. The owners of the property have asked us to look at a way to increase the value of their property. We have proposed building a 2.5-story structure in the location where the barn is. We're moving the barn to do so. We have 2 main floors and an attic, so that the upper floor, the first floor is this one, because the lower level with parking doesn't count, and it does for a code. So this is technically the first story. This is the second story. This is the half story providing space above. We have used a drop siding, although we're far from being to an ARB. This is a referral to you by the planning board, looking if you guys have input that you'd like to make suggestions to them, because we're still before the planning board on this. I can talk a little bit about the materials that we've talked about, but I don't know if that's what you're concerned about.
No.
Yep. Do you have any
So-
concerns?
Yes, we have quite a few.
Okay.
But we also have, I imagine, quite a few neighbors here that also have concerns. So maybe while Ed is looking to set up the SketchUp, we can hear from some neighbors. I would just ask if you could speak once, try to get everything in, and I'd rather not turn this into a debate with the applicant at the moment. There are a lot of things that are going to happen before any vote occurs on this project here, but we will give our opinion about the sort of overall aesthetic of the approach, not really in terms of materials, but in terms of the logic of the project and the massing. So would anyone like to speak?
I'm Steve Tilley at 22 Elm Street, which is right across the street from 100 Main. So I have just a few words. Too big, excessively dissimilar, needs a couple of variances, including a use variance, which has serious thresholds to justify. And it blocks views that are significant public views. So I think all of those things combined mandate a referral voicing those, underlining those concerns, architectural concerns on bulk massing views, dissimilarity to the planning board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Neil Whitehouse, 26 Hatch Terrace. In overall concept, in development concept, in design, in virtually every aspect of this, it's precisely what we don't want in Dobbs Ferry along the aqueduct. I hope that it will be rejected summarily on those bases. Thank you.
Good evening, Annalisa Corrales, 12 Livingston Avenue. One of the very important aspects of the design guidelines is that you maintain compatibility with the historic character and design quality of the village. Also in the LWRP, which you're entitled to consider in looking at excessive dissimilarity and other of the factors that you have in your purview. The LWRP expressly says that extraordinary scenic views throughout the village are at the heart of the village's identity, and the village should do all it can to preserve, feature, maintain, and expand them. And I would hope that you also take that into account, that this is going the opposite direction of maintaining and expanding those river views, and I think will very clearly stamp out the views from many different locations and many different viewpoints. And those views are precious to the identity of this village as a river town. And I would just urge that that's taken into account as well. But in terms of design and the historic character, that barn could be put to better use and could be put to more creative uses that would preserve the character that it creates along the aqueduct, which contains a nice collection of historic sites along it, including the Keeper's House and many other locations. And I think that barn could really add to it. And if you look at what Steve Tilley has done with his barn on his property, which was to renovate it and maintain a lot of that character and design integrity, I think it's something that we could ask the applicant to strive for. Thank you.
Mike Marrow, 32 Walnut. Along the same lines, this is on the aqueduct. It's actually, everybody is a neighbor. Everybody uses the aqueduct. It is a park land for everybody in the village. We use it as such. It's meditative. It's public, but semi-private. This is an example where I know there isn't a skyplane exposure for the aqueduct trail, but there should be. You know, in concept, we shouldn't have perspective balconies sitting over the aqueduct trail. People shouldn't be congregating privately over the aqueduct trail where people are sort of meditating along their way. It's kind of perverse. I mean, if you looked at this and stood on the boundary of the aqueduct trail, how far away are you really from those balconies? How far up are they, right? You've got 2 or 3 stories of balconies looking over essentially everybody's backyard. And I think that's one design reason to feel a little bit creepy about the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bruce Richards, 153 Main. Not that long ago, the old library used to make the front page of the Enterprise. And I'm going to just read this so I don't screw it up. In 2002, when I first came to Dobbs Ferry, there were 3 buildings on Main Street of interest: 10 Main, Steve Tilley's office, and the Village Library. Their scale, attention to surface details, and the relationship to maintaining the historic nature of the village was important to me. When we purchased the old library building, it was based on the agreement that we would retain the original facade and maintain the building in as close as possible to its past. The village's position was that the history of the village preceded any sale, and the sale was conditioned on saving this piece of history. The old library went through many shifts through its 170 years and is not a historically registered landmark, but deserved to be reconstructed and maintained for the village. This was our agreement with the village. Recently, it seems the village has begun to renege on this agreement that they made with us. There seems to be no such concern for the history of the aqueduct or other older structures that equally represent a part of the village's history. As we continue to grow, has our position changed concerning our history's importance? Do we need to do away with all remnants of our past? And then the rest of this has pretty much been cited by the others. I mean, my main concern is that the aqueduct, now with these viewing balconies, doesn't become the high line of the north. Thank you.
Yes, please.
Mavis Kane, South Lawn Avenue, and Friends of the Old Croton Aqueduct. And I think I pointed out to the planning board colleagues of yours that as the Keeper's House and the Visitors Center evolves, and we know it is going to, the grand opening will probably be end of summer or September, and we do expect an influx of people from the city, from other boroughs. Yesterday we had a meeting for our annual meeting, and I was amazed how many people came from Brooklyn, came from areas right outside of the river towns. And my point is that as people come, make the Keeper's House a destination, they want something else to add to it. They want the charm of a river town's. And the fact that the Keeper's House is in a river town, one expects to at least see some of the river as you proceed north from the Keeper's House. So just from a tourism and an economic point of view, we do want to encourage visitors to come. We want them to buy things on Main Street and on Cedar Street. But they will tell their neighbors about the charm of the village, if the village has charm. But if the village is, we now have how many buildings? The 78, 66, 68, already massive, modern-looking structures that are taking away from the charm. If we add one more, we are taking away from every little aspect of touristic charm that we can offer to visitors. And I think in many respects, we have to remember that what appeals to people from the outside is the charm of the river and these old river towns. They don't go to Scarsdale, they come to Dobbs Ferry, Hastings, and Irvington to have some charm and some beautiful old buildings. So please keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Patty, did you want to continue your presentation? If this is working, is there any more visuals to?
I mean, I don't know if that's what you really want to spend time on tonight. We have a site walk next Saturday morning, and it might make sense to do that, to put context to this, so that it isn't like I'm saying one thing and somebody else is saying something else. I don't think that advances as well. So I think if we do the site walk and then come back at the next meeting and talk about it further, I think that's still before the planning board. Unless if you have specific questions. I mean, obviously, I don't agree with everything that was said. Actually, I agree with most of what Bruce Richards said. I think that is important. If the barn was in shape that I thought would make sense to restore, that's what we would be doing, or finding some way to make work of it. But I think that's something that's going to be better for you guys to see up close and personal, instead of me making any representations on it. The issues of blocking views, the existing building blocks the views on the aqueduct. So I think, again, that's something that's better seen, right there. There are views that will be affected by this on Oak Street, the Historic Society, some other points. So it's not that it's not an issue. But again, it's a matter of what makes sense and how does it work in the village. In terms of the code, we are significantly under what the height is permitted at the moment. We've made recommendations of changing that would cut it down, not this building, but what is permitted on properties in the downtown. And it looks like at some point the village will do that. I know Steve has mentioned the idea of the use variance for the first floor. We've asked that to be something that Darius, the village attorney, opine on, because if you read the code, it make. I would never laugh at the village attorney. The idea is to find out what the current code's interpretation is, since there is a stipulation that you're not allowed to have retail. You have to have retail on the ground floor in the business district facing the street. I know when we did that, we were thinking buildings facing Main Street and Cedar Street. We weren't thinking about what happens on the side streets. But that's why, he'll need to opine on that. If he determines that we need a variance for it, we'll do that. I think, if I'm understanding what's being said, is any use there other than retail would not be acceptable, so the parking wouldn't be acceptable. The first plan that we showed actually didn't have parking. It had a ground floor there, and that could just as easily be retail, which would work very well. And then we could have the 2 floors of residential use above it. So we're certainly willing to look at that if that's how the village, wants to proceed. Unless you have other questions?
I think some of us have some things to say.
Well, I think I'll save my comments for after the walkthrough. I think there will be interesting to work all together and identify all the issues that we want to see there.
I think that'll help.
And one of the things that I want to make sure is how viable is to preserve that structure. And we'll see it next time.
That makes sense.
I think we should wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. However, I think that some of the issues, like the variances, will obviously be, will play out as we go forward. Issues like views, which we can address when we walk the site, really ultimately get addressed by the planning board. But we're not indifferent to those concerns. I think what concerns us is the question of a kind of neighborhood fabric. There are, it's not quite right to call this thing a folly because it was a
No, it's much too
extremely
big. Yeah.
utilitarian structure. However, in the current context of the village, it does function in that role, in that it is a kind of unusual, if not diamond in the rough, a kind of uncut precious stone, right? It is unusual. We all really like that building, despite the wear it has received over the years. And maybe that's the reason we do like it, I'm not sure. But it is a very interesting piece of architecture in the village. And so I think from our perspective, we would love to see a feasibility study on the reuse of the barn. And I heard you say that it's in a state of disrepair that doesn't allow that, but
That may not. May not.
there
I
may
agree.
be ways to preserve that thing, if not in its complete entirety in some aspects. And I have personally done projects not dissimilar with very old barns that were in very bad shape and that we were able to reuse a good portion of. So I think that aspect has to be studied and shown to us to be either feasible or not feasible before we would entertain a building such as this, whether it has parking or retail or 3 stories or 4 stories or 2.5 or however we want to cut this up semantically. The fact is, it does read like a 4-story building, which is what I think the bigger concerns about massing and views being blocked. But I think those are part of a later discussion that happened after
Agreed.
these other earlier, maybe more pertinent questions get addressed. So I think I wanted you to know where our position
Yeah.
is.
Well, I think we're
vis-a-vis
very
the-
much
the
in the same
reuse.
place.
So I think
but
we.
just to clarify, the reuse is not only to repurpose the existing structure, in my opinion. The reuse is also understanding what the massing does to the context in terms of the relationship to the fabric of downtown, the relationship to the aqueduct, to the street, and to the surroundings. And I wouldn't call it a folly, but it is a special building along the aqueduct that needs careful considerations in what's coming after that. And what do we learn from it? Okay.
Agreed?
Okay, so we'll make a motion that we continue this to the next meeting. We look forward to the site meeting.
There is not a
And-
motion, right?
And is there, it's not a true application, it's posted.
We're not an application,
Okay, I see.
but you can, that makes sense.
We'll see you next time.
Are you guys able to come on Saturday morning? It's 8:30. We're going to meet at the barn.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
This Saturday, the 18th.
So I think we should go, so do we have this running?
They need to upgrade the schedule version that you got.
Ed, did you try restarting the computer?
Yes.
Did it-
He's using a newer version we don't have.
Oh, okay.
Well-
It's a little involved for on the fly.
No problem. Do you want to just discuss this bill? I mean, we've, Patty, do you want to, let's just talk about this building. I think we've all spent a lot of time around orthographic drawings. We don't necessarily need the model to make a determination. I'm sorry, we're back to 82 Belden.
The first,
This was the first application.
Are we going to talk about the Dunkin' Donuts?
We will talk about everything on the agenda tonight. Yes, the Dunkin' Donuts.
Patty, you don't have a print of it, right?
Print?
Of your SketchUp.
No.
You wanted to bring, you want to see the computer?
Do you have your computer here?
I don't. If I'd gotten back before 4 o'clock, I would
Don't worry about
have
it.
made sure it was working.
Go ahead.
As I said earlier, we basically have changed the roof line. That's brought it down a bit. We have a flat roof in this section for a walkout from the attic onto the roof deck. As I also noted, everything in terms of the 2 stories and the size, the heights, all that, it all remained basically the same. We no longer have an issue with the sky exposure plane. It is just, distinctly more in the direction to being a modern building than it was before. I don't think it's that trying to walk the 2 lines anymore. As I noted, Tom and Nancy, when we had the conversation, which direction would they want us to go, said this was the way they preferred. Nancy actually had collected a tremendous number of images of this type of house before we ever got to this. I think it was probably our office saying, to be a little bit more closer to the traditional, but I think this has worked out. And as I noted and showed earlier, we've done this style of house. Actually, one that I forgot, we also did the end of Mohican Park. The old house that's was done by one of Frank Lloyd Wright's students, or somebody working in his office. We renovated that several years ago for Tony Brea, and that's also using the same shiplap with, stained in a dark stain with, the kind of shed roofs in the metal.
I just have one question.
Sure.
I feel that the flat roof over, I don't know, is that the master bedroom?
Yeah, no, that's the kids'
The
bed.
front bedroom?
This is the kids, this is the master.
Seems like strange to me.
You'd want the flat roof above the master?
No, I just think that the vocabulary on the front is strange. On that
I
plan.
think it's not the flat roof. I think it's the other
There's
side. Something is off.
Something is off. Maybe it's the proportion of the tower. I understand that that's your access to the terrace.
I see. I did a small sketch, not as a sketch, but I trying to understand what's off.
Right, sure.
But
And
come
which
up
is
to.
why I wanted to see the SketchUp, but.
You see,
I'm not sure what that is.
I was saying that what's off with this pitch roof
Right.
on one end. Maybe it has to be something else to accommodate the flat roof. It's not this.
In other words,
thing
this
in it.
has to be larger?
I was playing. I'm not saying that this is the solution.
Yeah.
But it's certainly.
But
Okay.
I'm worried about what we talked about the last time.
Yeah.
Because
Which is-
I could easily pivot this, make it a steeper pitched roof, have this be a steeper pitched roof, would still be under the height and all the requirements.
Yeah.
And I'd have a larger form here, we could bring that forward up to this plane.
I think
That'll-
works better.
That's better?
Works better. Yeah.
I think that there were 2 projects you showed, 2 of your
Yeah.
projects. The first was the one on, was it
Ferris.
Half Moon?
Yeah.
Or Half Ferris?
It's Ferris.
Which had a simpler but similar
Very
geometry.
clean roof line.
And then you showed another, which was sort of one of the last images that you showed with another very strong roof line.
Right.
And I think that what those projects really benefit from is a simpler geometry that speaks better to the contemporary form making and the
Whereas-
contemporary materials.
So we have
And-
1, 2, 3
Yeah, it's a
pieces
little
that need to-
overcomplicated for the scale of the house.
Such a small.
And I think it's also the balance of the flat roof versus this.
This is big.
It seems like a mixture of vocabulary to me.
That house on Ferris is exactly that. It's a large flat roof house. It's almost 50% of the house has the flat roof, and then there's a long, large sloping roof.
I don't
So
mind the flat roof or the
Yeah.
sloping roof. I think there's one too many components in the massing.
Yeah, it's the massing.
But I think we're in such a better direction than we were at the last meeting.
let me describe it to Tom, with you guys listening to what I say, so you'll see whether I'm getting it right or not. You can stop me if I'm not. what we'd be looking at, we don't want to raise this, because to raise this up causes problems. So we would increase the pitch. By increasing the pitch, we could eliminate this being a separate box. We would have this coming up, and maybe it would continue, or maybe this would come up against it in some way, but it would be to simplify that. And what that would mean we'd have to do is we'd have to bring this piece that sets back forward to be in this same plane.
Okay, and the exit is this way then, the door?
Yeah, you'd have the exit onto the deck that way. So what it would mean is that the deck was only this wide, which I think, Dipti, you're talking about proportioning. If the deck was limited to that side, and it didn't extend to here, and this was all the pitched roof, I think it would give you that, the flat roof would be a reduced component
Maybe
in the.
stronger, you know.
Yeah, the roof would be much stronger.
This angle gonna change too?
Yeah, we'll have to see how that roof works, but,
You still want the access to the
I mean, you're
terrace.
just coming from here.
So I
You
don't
don't
know how
want to
Here.
be too steep also.
Yeah, but you still want the access to the terrace, I understand. I'm
Right.
sure it's
Now,
like-
this is all,
You wanna take a look at the golf course?
you know, this is all,
Yeah, you have a nice view there.
Yeah.
Let's just go.
yeah, I mean, we don't wanna eliminate the roof deck. I mean, I know, obviously why you want that, right? But if this is all a mass, and I think there are a number of ways
I
to
think
slice
that-
it, and I think you,
yeah, I think that's a good direction. I think
It
that,
works better with the flat roof.
Yeah.
It has,
Yeah.
well, the flat
incorporates-
roof becomes effectively a quarter of the roof, as opposed to looking like it's more than half of the front of the house.
Right.
yeah.
So I think that's a very good suggestion.
you
I
don't
think that would
actually-
work.
Plan,
Yeah, the plan right here. Yeah.
And
so.
you know what it is also, I think maybe it's the railing.
Well, I know the railing that Tom would like. Tom would like a stainless steel railing with glass inserts.
It might work better with the vocabulary.
I think that'd be terrific.
Maybe that was what was throwing me off.
Okay.
I
I love
express
that.
itself.
I'm just
The other-
worried when he finds out how much it costs.
Yeah, I
But
was
this is
gonna
what
give
he
you another
does.
suggestion,
This is
and
what he
this
does.
Very costly, is that you build a channel, and, you know, this
Yeah,
is-
frame.
and you have a piece of glass, and your roof deck material comes right up to here, and you're, you know,
Yeah, it's just stainless steel tubing on top and bottom, it has clips.
Yeah,
The glass is measured, it holds.
It's gotten
tempered
very
glass.
challenging to do the glass because they want it to withstand amazing loads, but we've done it. And we did it in one of the houses in Irvington, and what it is it's two clips on either side. They are fairly sophisticated clips. They screw into the metal
Oh,
post.
I understand. I do this all the time, the vertical cantilever
In New
glass
York.
rail. Yes, everywhere, all over the.
Outside of the city. Okay.
Well,
so-
not Westchester, but I don't really do anywhere.
C.R.
in
Lawrence.
Westchester.
Okay.
But I think it might be more in keeping,
Yeah,
and maybe
Sierra Lawrence
that's
said
what
it's
was
a catalog.
throwing me off.
I think that's a cool idea.
Because
Another
that's,
thing would be stainless steel cables, but we have 3 little kids and I don't want to put the cables so they can.
And
Climb on it.
we're being told that the building inspectors group has kind of started saying they really don't like horizontal cables or Ed Marin has told me this. Don't you work for Ed? I thought Ed's in charge of all building inspectors, but Ed is discouraging us from using the cables because of, he believes that they're going to pass new laws against it for apparently good reasons. The glass panels, I think, would be very interesting, and it would really be a clean look, and it would certainly pop up the character of this.
So this,
And if we make the deck smaller, maybe it is
I
affordable.
love the glass rail. I think you'll enjoy it a lot. It's a.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't block your view of the golf course.
exactly.
So just a comment on the size of the window on
In
the
the
front of the
bathroom?
house. It's not the size of the window in the facade. It's not. I think it's.
Oh.
You have
I'm gonna have to
two-
chastise somebody in the
two
morning,
windows.
yeah. Yeah, we made the change on, the elevation definitely looked better using the exact same width as the other windows instead of having to be a pair of narrower.
There is something.
So we fixed it
there is
there, but we have to,
something-
yeah.
I think that the.
I think it'll be an improvement for sure.
Yeah, the window is off. I think that the windows on the east and west elevation are interesting in terms of the massing and how
So this would be more rectangle.
the window on the north elevation, there is something off in the proportions.
Okay.
Just
The
check.
bathroom window, I'm nervous.
No, I'm not saying
Yeah.
what you want to do, like a small window, maybe the proportion is different.
Maybe a smaller window.
It's a different.
Maybe it's the same narrower window that we have on the
But it's the best
side.
view of the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
You put shades that come down.
People are getting less modest about their bathroom.
Not, how old is your
Look
daughter?
at 432 Park.
Her daughter is 3 years old. I don't think we want.
She doesn't care.
She doesn't care, a window
Well, we'll
into
leave that
privacy
up to
might be
you.
important.
6-inch painted steel post, what do you refer to?
It's literally it's a heavy
a round
steel.
sta-
It's not round, it's
a square
it's a
tube?
square tube, and it's got the rounded corners, that's the way it comes, and we've found it works really well with this, because it's big enough that it has a sense of presence, and yet it's clean, and it doesn't add a,
You mean clean because it's cleanable, or it's?
no, it's clean because it has no detail. I can show you I don't want to waste more time, but I have pictures of that, and I can bring that to you. What I'll do next time, not knowing whether this works or not, I'll bring images as well as any on it. But we've done it before, and it works great.
The flat roof, just it has a lot of snow, so.
The 6-inch steel is so much stronger than what you need. You could do 3-inch.
It's not a structural issue.
We're not worried about that.
Detail.
Yeah, it
The
seems to
6
be
is
the
the right
only,
look. It
it seems
looks
to be the
nice.
only place where, I know, it seems to be the only place where you kind of lack the kind of warm modernist feel that you've done here. It feels a little sort of cold and.
Understood. I want to bring you the
but I'm
photograph
not-
of Davidowitz's house, which is up behind the high school.
Great,
Or
okay,
maybe you
sure.
guys would want to go up there. It really worked nicely because it doesn't call attention to itself. It's like, it's understated, and part of this is it's almost austere. It's not cold, but it's austere in terms of we don't have a lot of, there's no fussiness to it. So, having that be kept clean, I think is good.
Okay, let's approve it next round.
Sounds good.
Okay, so.
Is that good with you? Can you go home tonight, or
Yeah.
are you sleeping in the city? Nancy's,
I'm gonna see what my wife says.
Nancy's got very strong opinions about this, which really has made it interesting, because she really has a good eye, and she really is committed to this being great.
Let's see how this everything looks.
Yeah.
Finishing.
I think that's a neat idea.
One even two.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for working with us. So we'll make a motion that we continue this to the next meeting. Do I have a second? Oh,
On this
yes,
project?
please.
A clarifying question. No, in general, is this a regular open meeting?
Let me complete this application first.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't finish.
Well, I just have to make a motion that we'll continue to the next meeting.
One second.
Second, all in favor, unanimous? Please, I'm sorry. Is this an open meeting?
Yes, is it?
It is not an open meeting by definition.
It's not a public.
It is not a public hearing, although we do, at our discretion, hear from the public relating to specific projects. So this is not a forum, for example, to discuss a project that is not on the agenda.
No, but what puzzles me, if I may, is that I've only been attending these meetings for 10 years, I don't know what happened before, but this is the first time that nothing has been, I think one applicant did, show something to the public in this room and presumably on tape. Everything else was shown only to 3 of you. And the discussion got increasingly just right up there. So I'm wondering if we wandered into a workshop or something.
No, you've not wandered into a workshop. We review these drawings beforehand, and we have considered them, and we're discussing with the applicant what we believe to be the appropriate course to get the right kind of project. Would you take the microphone?
Judith Spikes, 5 Brace Terrace. I don't mean to be hostile, but I'm just puzzled. We came here and we couldn't see anything. And we won't be able to see it on the videotape. So I don't know why I came. And I'm just curious. I seriously thought we might have made a mistake, and this was not intended to enlighten the public.
Well, as you saw, I'm sure, we had some problems with the computer, and we were not able to see some of the material that Mr. Steinschneider brought tonight. However, what is available is on record at the building department, and anyone is free to come and review and at the building department and come to the meeting and comment. And I understand your concern. we tried to get this to work. Unfortunately, it hasn't, and we're making the do with what we have.
No,
to be perfectly honest.
that's fine. I don't need an apology. I just needed clarification because of the reasons I said.
And you're here to discuss which project in
No,
particular?
I was interested in many of the projects, including the one on the mobile station that's coming up, but I don't think I'm going to stay because I don't think I'm going to learn anything. But I understand that this is not a new trend, that there haven't been new rules imposed, and that this is
Absolutely not. And
a one-off.
hopefully we will.
Thank you.
We will not have these sort of glitches in the future, and we'll be able to see the models that the applicant spent a lot of time creating for us. So. But here is a good example.
To clarify, we asked for PowerPoint or PDFs.
Okay.
Mr. Steinschneider likes to work also in SketchUp, and we don't maintain that. We just downloaded it one time to appease him, and no, yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that in the future, it's not unreasonable for you to bring just images of your SketchUp model, because I don't think this is the first time, and I know there are sometimes issues with the movement around with the model, so just bring some snapshots.
Yeah,
from this
at
point
the
forward.
last meeting, we actually included those in our PowerPoint, which we also had tonight. All of the drawings, all the photographs, all of that are in the PowerPoint that we had on the screen tonight. As you know, perhaps even better than I, having something you can see that represents 3D is often really helpful, not only for this board, but for the public. I don't know how many other firms do that. We think it's really important. It does take a lot of our time, but we would have loved to have shown up to you tonight. I had people working all weekend making them ready. So, and as I said, had I not been here later than 4 o'clock this afternoon, I would do what I've been doing the last meetings, is come down here around 3 in the afternoon, bring the stuff to Ed so he can get it all working, and we would have found it then. And I apologize for not getting in here before 4. I would have loved to have shown the stuff. But your point is also, this position of the easel and this location of the drawings is going back years, how it's usually done. If there's people who are concerned about a specific project, they're allowed to come up and look at it. But as you pointed out, all of those drawings are available. We also have made it a policy, anytime anybody wants copies of any of our drawings, we'll provide it to them. They don't have to pay for them, we'll just give it to them. So there's no effort here to get this into the public not being able to see it.
So we're 1 Ashford Avenue, please.
Yes, on behalf of the applicant, Leo Napier with the law firm Harfin, Strout and Prostein. This application is before you on referral from the planning board, which is before the planning board on referral from the board of trustees. I believe only Mr. Rosencrantz was on this board when this last application was last before you, roughly a year and a half ago. To walk through the plan briefly, that is the existing mobile station at the site. It's at the corner of Ashford and Broadway. The applicant is proposing to, I'll flip to the site plan here. The applicant is proposing to convert the existing repair business to remove the repair bays and to convert this into a convenience store. I know there's been a lot of discussion as to whether there'll be a Dunkin' Donuts. There will be a coffee shop, potentially a Dunkin' Donuts element to the convenience store. In connection with that project, the applicants are removing a section of the building, which is a big change to the plans from when it was last before your board. In doing so, they've opened up the traffic circulation around the site. And we were before the planning board roughly a week and a half ago, and there was a lot of discussion as to, there's also a canopy that's proposed over the pumps, and there was some discussion as to the size of the canopy and the thickness of the canopy. Since we submitted those plans to you, the planning board asked us to examine the thinnest possible canopy we could get away with. I have a rendering of that as well, which wasn't included in your packages, but I can show that to you tonight. So I'll just flip backwards here. So that's the existing building elevation. The proposed building elevation, you can see they just removed the last repair bay there to adjacent to the diner property. The scheme here is where the applicant left off with you when this was last before you, which is a brick facade with some glass windows, basically. We're open to any comments if the board has thoughts or opinions as to the appropriate finishing of the facade. And so this is a 36-inch canopy with a flat roof. Another alternative would be a 36-inch thick canopy with a mansard roof to kind of match the existing structure. And then the last one that the planning board asked us to look into is a 22-inch canopy. If we went with this alternative, the fire suppression equipment would either need to be located on the pillars for the canopy or on the roof. It would be visible. The mansard roof or the thicker roof kind of hides that fire suppression equipment. The planning board seemed to be not concerned with that being hidden from view. They asked us to come to you to get your 2 cents on everything. With that, I'll take any questions or comments.
Do you have a site plan?
I do. I can flip back to that. That is the site.
Oh, that
plan
was
there.
part of our package, I see, yes.
So everything is virtually staying as is with the exception of the northernmost section of the building being removed. Basically the last, if you're familiar with the site, basically the last repair bay is being removed.
So about 20 feet it will be cut.
I'm sorry?
It will be pushed 20 feet, right?
Yes. The existing structure, it's kind of shown as hatched on the site plan here, but so that last bay there is being chopped off to accommodate some traffic circulation around the site.
And the elevation facing the diner? It's just a brick wall?
Just a brick wall.
I remember this project well. We worked with the two gentlemen over the course of several meetings regarding the renovation of the building itself. And I think that where we left off, we were fairly comfortable with what you were doing to the building. However, we were quite divided about the canopy. I in particular raised some concerns about it blocking the view of the church on the way down Ashford Avenue and really potentially being a kind of massing and light problem on that corner. I was under the impression that that canopy was rejected by the Board of Trustees, but I may be wrong about that. Ed, do you know why this project?
It was the traffic flow.
It was a traffic flow issue, not.
I believe the planning board was in favor of a canopy. The ARB was not in favor of a canopy, but the reason it was rejected was traffic and use.
Okay, nothing to do with the
Not
canopy.
architecture.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. I don't see the canopy as an integral part of a food coffee shop. It seemed to me that when we heard this last, the applicants were discussing the focus on the shopping and the kind of defocusing on the gas element and the service element, obviously. And so I would ask that you reconsider the canopy very seriously, because I think it's a very problematic design element to introduce into this corner.
I personally, I don't have a necessarily a real problem with the canopy as an idea or as a typology for a gas station. I think that the canopy is part of the it's part of the use of a gas station. I understand totally the problem with the view towards the or the interference of a canopy and the view of the church and how it ranks with the corner that Michael was referring to. I will look into it, but as a priori idea, I don't have a problem with the canopy as presented. My version is the slimmest you can go, the better. Not the mansard roof. I don't see value in it. But I'll give it a good thought in terms of what you just referred to.
I agree with you. Then I have no problems with the canopy. If I had to, I'd go with the slimmer one, not the mansard one. Mansard seems a little bulky, especially for the corner.
Understood. Just to the chairman's point, the canopy it's a self-service station, so it's really for the benefit of the customers. It is a fairly standard amenity that's being fitted out of these gas stations that are being converted. We understand your point completely. We could take a look at some of the view impacts if necessary. And I've heard the comments from the board that the thinner the better. The 22-inch version that was shown on the renderings here is about as slim as we can get it without having the structural gridwork exposed, which would cause a whole separate slate of aesthetic issues.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I think perhaps there are some comments.
I have just a question.
Sure, come up, take the microphone, please.
The parking doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, people can only go in here, right? So how are they going to get like that?
The planning board, the plan has been changed through comments of the planning board several times. Initially, we had a traffic circulation coming this way around the site with parking slanted like that. The planning board did not like that traffic circulation, and so the traffic circulation's been switched to be counterclockwise.
So they go in here, go around here, and then park?
Correct.
Or they come in here?
Or
go
they
right
come
here?
in through Ashford.
Now, what if people want to walk in from the high school? How will they get in there?
There is the planning board, again, from a comment from the planning board, there's a crosswalk that connects to the crosswalks on Ashford and Broadway and runs diagonal across the site here. And this plan has not been resubmitted to the board yet, but they asked us to further make that a slab concrete, to really make the walking area, the pedestrian area jump out, so that will be part of our...
Will it be up so that you'll have to, the cars would hit it as if it were a bump?
They asked us to look into either a raised walkway or a stamped concrete. I believe currently we're planning on proposing a stamped concrete. Just with the raised walkway, it causes drainage issues and some other site issues. Certainly, if the planning board has further thoughts on it, we can look into it further.
It just doesn't look terribly safe.
Neil Whitehouse, 26 Hatch Terrace. So it is going to be a Dunkin' Donuts, right? I mean, that's lawyer speak for we're going to put a Dunkin' Donuts in, but we're not going to tell you that yet, correct?
There's no agreement in place,
So you haven't got a written agreement. Have you had meetings with Dunkin' Donuts? Do you have any proposals before you?
I don't know how any of that...
I have to say, I would really prefer if we focused on architectural issues, and this is, I
apologize.
This is really not an agenda to harass applicants.
Right.
It's really, if you have a question for us or you have a concern about aesthetics, please address it. If it's a different issue, put it in writing, send it to the applicant, copy us, and we're happy to read it.
Okay.
But we have a lot of people here, and we have a limited time. And
With aesthetics, I have been getting my gasoline at that station for many, many years. Not having a canopy there has not deterred me from buying my gasoline in that location. It was a sad thing when we had the second floor put onto the Walgreens development because that blocked the view of the church coming down Ashford Avenue to a substantial extent. A canopy would simply multiply that impact. And so from an aesthetics perspective, I would prefer that it not be a canopy. And I guess my concern about Dunkin' Donuts is that I assume that there would be Dunkin' Donuts signage there as well. And that would be an aesthetic issue that I would be concerned about. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you. Yes, please.
Hi again. My concern is with a number of issues, but since we are speaking architecturally only tonight, the canopy is something that I think would make sense in most gas stations because you see that in modern gas stations. But this particular site, everything is just so tight there, and there's such a small amount of space, and it's starting to feel tighter with the building that's going up next to the Chase Bank, you know, across the street on that corner, and then with the Walgreens having that second level now, and then when you add the canopy to that, I think you should just give some thought to what's the cumulative impact, and maybe just give more thought, especially for those of you who were sort of leaning towards the canopy. I would just try to picture what that's going to look like. It's going to start to look very sort of crowded, I think, visually. And I do agree with the comments about the view of the church, that the canopy impacts it. I personally, as a user of the gas station, don't feel that I need to have that convenience element of a canopy. It's a small town gas station doesn't necessarily need it. Thanks.
Thank you. This is not an application yet, Ed?
Just referral from the planning board.
So no motion to be made. Oh, yes, one more. Thank you.
Hi, my name is R.K. Pandya. I live on corner of Elm Street, 315 Broadway. I think the new business coming to town, maybe it is a good idea. But at the same time, we have to look for the safety and security also of each and every individuals who they are traveling in the busy hours of the day in the morning time when kids are going to school, so on and so forth. You already have 2 gas stations. Another building is coming up. Walgreens is around corner. And as I heard that possibilities are there that the Dunkin' Donut might come up over there. They will have the drive-up window? If they do, how we will going to have the traffic circling around that small building which already have a diner in the corner, what we are inviting here? And if we do have a Dunkin' Donut, then I think we should not have a drive-up window. My humble request to the board is just go with a bigger or the biggest SUV prior to turning down the existing structure, try to circle around in the busy traffic time between 7 and 9. Many places, even, they have a parking lot, a huge parking lot, and the Dunkin' Donuts sitting on that property with the drive-up window.
I'm going to have to interrupt you. I don't disagree with any of the things you're discussing. However, the traffic issue has really nothing to do with our board. And I think that this is going to the planning board again, and will go to the Board of Trustees, and those boards do address those issues. And I urge you to go to those meetings and voice the concerns you have about traffic patterns to those boards that deal with this very issue. And we just simply don't address that here.
Because with due respect, I would request that at least if that structure is there, then there should not be a drive-up serving window. That is part of the structure, and it should not be there. That's the humble request.
Thank you.
Just for the benefit of everyone that's here, that this very issue came up before the planning board. We've agreed to, if the project ultimately is approved, we agreed to a condition that there be no drive-through window. That was never the plan or the intent.
Thank you for clarifying. No motion to be made. Let's go to the next application, please. 84 Magnolia.
Mr. Chairman.
Software problem. Chairman.
Will we continue this on the agenda or send a letter to the planning board from this one meeting?
I'm sorry, what was the, where?
Well, the planning board is looking for, a referral from you as to the architecture. Do you want to continue this and look at it again, or are you going to send your ideas to the planning board now?
I think we can just, do we need to, I think we just send our ideas to the planning board at this point.
Enough.
Yeah,
So
I don't-
we'll
we don't
take it
need-
off.
We'll take it off. We will communicate to the planning board our thoughts, and I'm sure many of them are watching now, but we'll formalize it and copy you so that you can have
Thank you
our
very
opinion
much.
in writing. Thank you.
All right. We are now Mac enabled. My name is Matt Rosenberg, 84 Magnolia Drive, and we would like to put a fence in our backyard. We have currently there is the remains of a fence in the yard, as you can see here, an old wire fence, dangerous, rusted, ugly. You can see some of the falling down pieces of it. We are faced with a situation where we're on a highly sloped hill, and we have debris and rocks from up the hill that make their way, migrate down into our yard with great frequency because of the slope at the bottom, and also photograph of this in a moment, is our dining room window, and we live in kind of constant fear that rock will make the jump down the hill and into the window. We also have our friendly neighbors who, there are deer fences on the south side of us, and a fence that is fairly high on top of a retaining wall on the north side of us. We're the one no fence area, and so consequently we are an off-ramp on what I refer to as Deer Highway, which is a path that goes through the backyards of Bel Air and Magnolia Drive. So here is the overview with an approximation of where the fence is. This is in the packet that I submitted. It would connect to the fence on the south and abut the stone retaining wall with a metal fence on the north. Another copy of the site plan. This is also in the submission. You can see this would be on the property line between our property, which is in the upper portion, and the two properties on Bel Air that adjoin. The material that we've chosen, and I brought a sample of that, although this is green and the actual material would be black, is a very standard material. It's common all around. Do you want to see this? Or should I just wave it at you?
Yeah.
All right, there you go. You've seen it 100 times. I took a drive this weekend around Riverview Manor, and in 10 minutes collected quite a number of samples of the same or similar materials. So contextually, it's very common in the neighborhood. Conforms to all the building codes. There aren't a lot of rules, minimal rules around fences, but we conform to all of them. It's 6 feet high, which is the max for rear yard. As you can see, much lower than 60% opacity. That's the rule for a front fence. There seems to be no rule about opacity for a back fence, but this is pretty transparent. Both sides are finished quality, so there is no concern about that. I did note as I went around the area that a lot of the side and backyard fences tend to be wire or chain link. So we're doing a lot better than that aesthetically. And it ties into, we have wrought iron in the patio in back, so from a distance, the black metal will tie in nicely. This is, I took a panorama, which I wish I could show you in 3D, of the patio, the north side, east and south. My software skills are pretty poor, so I kind of drew in a fence with in preview. So that's not, I can't guarantee you that that's exactly what 6 feet looks like, but more or less that's what the fence will look like. So my artist rendering, though I am not an artist. And here's the view of what from Magnolia Drive, what it would look like, the visible portion there. I know that I have a neighbor here who does not particularly want me to build this fence, so I want to point out that he's made the comment to me that he feels his view will be impacted, so I took a picture approximating his view. His main viewing area up here is actually above our roof line, and in order to see the fence, he'd have to kind of cast his gaze down about 30 degrees to even see the fence, and the view that it would block would be of the dining room. So this is also a view from our backyard that you see the retaining wall here. The ultimate height of the fence will be below the altitude of the top of the retaining wall in the neighbor's house. So that is, can I have a fence?
Thank you. Is there a neighbor here that would like?
Yes, he is.
And we're in the same industry, so.
So we both have Mac. Would you like to borrow my
Yes, actually. And the difference is, you use a black background and I have a white background.
Well,
but
it's just keynote choice.
Actually, can I borrow your dongle?
Oh, sorry.
Thanks.
I will say that was the most comprehensive fence presentation that I have ever seen.
You know, if you're going to come, you might as well come ready.
Go big. Yeah, sure. You're up against some serious competition, I'm afraid.
Wow.
Well, I may have mistook.
It's almost like we're competing for a client. So I think that here's a view of the proposed fence, and I think I'm speaking for myself and also for Susan Clairvet, who is the next door neighbor who's also affected by it. She was here earlier but had to leave for a family medical emergency. So this is what the proposed fence looks like, and it's also common in many utilitarian settings, such as a parking lot. This is the Hastings train station, which is a 6-foot high, very similar fence. And then this is also another one in the neighborhood, and you see that it looks to us excessively dissimilar. And this is, in the actual setting, this is the view from our house, looking into the backyard. So this is 84 Magnolia. And our Photoshop skills, we would see the fence as really detracting from our enjoyment of the view and the value of the house because of. Thank you very much. I'll remember that. And we actually, have seen some appropriate alternatives from having also driven around the neighborhood this weekend. And we think there are many that would really do a much better job of blending into the natural environment in the backyards, and would do the same job of keeping deer away. Actually, I'm afraid it wouldn't keep anything but deer away, in any case. Oh. Did I?
Oh, we're finished.
Okay, so there's just some others that we thought fit in much better, especially given the backyard setting. And all of those have mesh that you really can't see, and they blend in with the landscape over time. So that was it. Oh, and also, actually, sorry, but according to the drawing, the fence skips over a little bit onto our yard. So I wasn't sure why that was, but it also shouldn't be. That the far.
It'll follow the survey that the town has.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. At the far edge, on the north side, for some reason, it doesn't go straight. It angles into our yard.
We can discuss that and find an easy way to bridge an angle. I would say that I don't know if you've actually priced those. I've priced, and gotten bids for fence. Or you're not finished?
No, I was just going to take the computer.
Okay.
Unless you want to.
No. Well, I'll take a computer.
Okay.
So I did bids with Newmat, with King Fence, And both of them actually suggested that for the use that we want to put it to, given the tree cover and the fact that branches come down quite a bit, we need something significantly sturdier than a wire fence. I'm not particularly a fan of split rail. So it's our house. I think the view that he showed is a little bit disingenuous because he's taken it from the backyard, the ground floor, the ground level of the backyard that I've never seen anybody there.
It's from the living room window.
It's from your living room window? Then you're casting a very sharp angle down. So anyway, so I hate to have a kind of a neighborhood dispute break out here at the AHRB, but we would like to build a fence. It's the code says it's an appropriate fence, and we would like to build it.
Ed, are there any compliance issues? I don't see any, but.
There will, just to clarify, for the final approval, there has to be a as-built survey submitted.
We will
So that would take care of your
therefore
question
spend the
about property
$1,200 to get a survey on the $3,900 fence. That would be delightful.
I could suggest some people to
That'd be
do
great.
that are cheaper.
Oh, thank you.
I have one question.
Yes.
There was a retaining wall between the two properties?
No, the retaining wall is entirely on
On your property.
the
So the
Jonas property.
fence is where in proportion with the retaining wall? Because that retaining wall looks pretty steep.
The slope is very steep between the fence and the retaining wall, was one of the reasons that we get a lot of stuff running down the hill.
So your fence is forward of the retaining wall into your property?
On the property line towards our house from the retaining wall, yes. Probably, what would you say, 25 feet from the retaining wall, 20 feet from the retaining wall?
Yeah, probably, I mean, 20 feet at the most from the retaining wall to the property line.
We have approved changing fences, we approved your fences. I don't have a fence preference in this case. I think it's a dispute between neighbors, but in my case, I will approve the fence as submitted.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I happen to like some of the rusticated fence ideas you have, but ultimately, I think it's the applicant's decision if he wants to use one fence or another, because we do have a sort of approved styles of fences, and for backyards, it's even less restrictive. I also think that the rusticated fence is not quite appropriate for the style of architecture of your house, so I'm not sure that it, ultimately makes sense. And I think that you have a wonderful view, and I know it's not your ideal, but I think it will not be greatly affected by, or even moderately affected by this fence. So I would like to make a motion that we approve this fence application as submitted. We have a second. All in favor, unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
And thank you both, by the way.
Thanks for.
Great presentations, by the way.
Yes, wonderful. It's too bad this didn't go first. Some other applicants could have used. 14 Hilldale. Right. Would you kindly pull back the easel so that the camera can pick up if you don't have a digital presentation? Thank you.
And since we have the drawings.
We have the drawings, yeah.
Yes. I think we can start from the, I think it's good.
It's just nice and double.
820, 82.0.
Yeah.
This is big.
I think there's some tiny little on the side, perhaps. Four windows in the schedule.
I'm Thomas Lopinski, representing here Amy O'Connor, the new owner of the house on 14 Hilldale. So looking for approval from the board for changing the windows and a few doors.
Basically, we found them in a terrible shape. So owner decided to replace part of them and one patio door and a side door access to the kitchen. So basically, some of the units are casement to meet the egress. We kind of keep the light rhythm within the character of the house. That's pretty much it. I mean, these are Anderson 400 series, double pane glass with a simulated light.
I don't see any problems here.
Okay.
Let's make a motion to approve as submitted. Second, Yair, all in favor, unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
9 Fair Lawn.
Hi, good evening. Doug Austrian, principal partner of the View at Dobbs. I'm here for an application for 9 Fair Lawn Avenue. It was a home that was previously approved by this board. Since then, we've entered into contract and did some fine-tuning and tweaking of windows, the fenestration and the doors and the garage door, basically. So rather to be forthcoming, I just wanted to bring it back to the board and not have a problem when Mr. Manley comes and inspects for a CO that the windows don't match what the drawing says. And
Can I
it's
ask you, this look familiar? Is this the one with the rear elevation that had a kind of step window that was articulating the stair, or was that a different number?
That was a different number, that
Okay.
one. But this one, basically what we've changed.
Tell us
on-
what's different, yeah, that's
Okay.
okay.
The other rendering of it was drawn by a designer, had the garage door and the front door that was made of the same material of the front, so it would sort of blend in and just not be seen, and the people buying the house wanted to have a front door. And, you know, they want it to be seen. They didn't want it just to be blending in. And
The front door now.
yeah, it's got a real front door. And
What
just
material?
What material?
it's going to be a Therma-Tru door, so it's going to be fiberglass. It's going to be insulated.
What is the style?
They haven't exactly picked the style yet. I mean, but not to deceive the board, I mean, we're going to submit it to the building department with the spec sheet of it, and if we need to come back at a later time to get approval on a front door, I mean, we'll come back, but I don't really see the need for it. It's gonna
Well,
be-
the need, if we just say similar
Yeah.
to cedar material, or we can add a note like that, I think
Yeah.
we'd be comfortable.
I mean, if you look on the different elevations, I mean, we changed some window shapes and locations for furniture placement. I mean, now that we've gone through the house with the contract ND, they have very specific thoughts about furniture placements and, you know, adding and subtracting windows. But other than that, it's basically the same house. The foundation was poured prior to this application being made, so the dimensions of the house really haven't changed at all.
I mean, I think it's a cool house. I liked it the first time. It looks very similar this time.
The only thing that, you know, it would be nice to see what changed, but I don't have a problem with either configuration, so we can go ahead and.
You have any?
I'm comfortable.
typically, we bubble the areas that are changed, so
no,
next
but
time,
they
if you
changed
can.
the entire thing bubbled, actually.
Yeah, actually, the entire thing changed because we added some stone. I don't think the stone was on the front.
It was similar in that it was a kind of a elongated modern building, but the massing is moved, the windows are different, and
And also, we might have changed the siding location and went from a horizontal siding to a vertical, but it's still all the same materials.
Good for me.
I see your point, though. I should have bubbled them and brought them to your
If
attention.
it was a few items, but I don't remember what the.
No, I
other-
remember next time.
No, just good, whatever it was approved, whatever is proposed, and that's enough.
I really thought that you guys would have had it in your folders and, you know.
No,
compared
we
it.
can't.
So
There's
I
hundreds of
apologize for
things
not
that come
having
in.
it, and I should have had it, and I see your point, but I don't have it, so I could.
Well, so that's fine. We're going to just call this door a wood door, similar species to.
Fiberglass.
Or in appearance, right? The
Right.
Therma-Tru is
It's
it's
gonna
like a
be-
fake wood.
It's like yeah, simulates
it's-
wood. It's fiberglass, it's insulated, and it's gonna appear
Yeah,
to
and
be mahogany.
they have a
Mahogany
mahogany
or
or
cedar.
cedar or whatever walnut
Similar to all
finish.
the other doors we put in throughout that development
Then
of
I don't
the
think
9
that's
houses we've built.
fine with that. Okay, so make a motion that we approve this as submitted with the understanding the front door is a natural wood in appearance, Therma-Tru style door.
Thank you so much.
A second? Yeah, you're-
Vote.
all in
Thank you
favor?
all.
I did not receive any minutes in this packet, so
Next week.
we will review those. I'll make a motion, we continue those to the next meeting. Second, all in favor, unanimous? Or unanimous. I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting? Yes, please.
I just want to make something clear so I don't have a problem in the future. Mr. Manley and I were just discussing that the drawings that I want to have approved might have one window changed, and that's what I submitted, so I want.
Let's see it, yeah, let's just.
It's different from this submittal.
Yes, from that submission, there was one additional change made this weekend.
That's good, I like it. I like it better.
What?
I like it.
You already
I
saw?
do too. If I could find it, I don't even know
Extra
which
eyes,
one
I
it is.
You have extra eyes?
No, I saw it.
Eagle eyes.
It's the long and narrow one. in the
I think
front.
it's the front window.
It's the front window, long and narrow.
It is?
Yeah.
It's this window, isn't it?
There you
It's
go.
this one.
The size changed on those windows.
Yeah, this one.
Oh, this guy, oh, he
Yeah,
added
they
one
added
here.
that one, though, in the
Oh,
closet.
okay.
So I just wanted to
That's
make
nice.
sure that I'm not, deceiving anybody in any way.
That's fine.
Thank
Your
you.
approval stands.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second it.
Second, Yair, all in favor, unanimous. Thank you. Everyone votes.